My name is Priyanka Goswami, Assistant Professor, Department of Management Studies, GL Bajaj Institute of Management Research, Greater Noida. Now I'll proceed with the lecture 2 of Management Concepts and Organizational Behavior. Fundamentals, and the topic is Fundamentals of Management, Management Practices from Past to Present. In the earlier lecture, we have studied what is management, what are the characteristics of management, what are the why management is important in the organization, and the last we have read what is function of management, that what are the functions involved in the management. Today we will go with the evolution of management. That means how management evolved, and how what are the history of management. That means what is the history of management from past to present. Let's start with the theory. We also call it management theory. So management theory is divided into three major parts. Number one is classical theory, second is neoclassical theory, and the third one is modern theory. Classical theory, number one. Classical theory is a theory in which three researchers have participated, which showed their contribution. Number one is Henry Fayol. Second is Max Weber in a bureaucratic. He is also known to be a father of bureaucratic management. And the third one is scientific management. That is F.W. Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor. He is the one who is also known to be a father of scientific management. So these are the three researchers who have participated in classical theory. Let's begin with the classical theory. Classical theory is the oldest formal school of thoughts which began around 1900 and continued into the 1920. It is mainly concerned with increasing the efficiency of the workers and organizations based on management practices which were an outcome of careful observation. That means this classical theory basically focused upon the efficiency of the workers. That means how they can increase the efficiency of the workers, how they can increase the productivity of the worker. They focuses upon that thing rather than what are their emotional requirements. They have not considered those things, their emotions and their needs and wants. They have considered just how we can increase their efficiency. So in classical theory, they have discussed that how we can increase their efficiency so that organization can achieve their objective, that is profit. Second is classical approach mainly looks for the universal principles of operation in striving for economic efficiency. Classical approach or classical theory mainly focused upon the rigid rules and regulation. They have always talked about the rigid rules and regulations. Whatever principles they have made, they always follow that instead of seeing the situations and contingent scenario. Instead of that, they always follow the rigid rules and regulations. So that's the classical approach. Third one is classical approach includes bureaucratic, scientific and administrative management. That means I've already told you that in classical theory, three researchers have participated. That is, number one is bureaucratic management. That is, I've told you, that's Max Weber. Max Weber is known to be a father of bureaucratic management. Second is scientific management. That means F.W. Taylor, who is known to be a father of scientific management, who has also given 5 principles due to which he explained that how management should be performed in the organization. And the third one is administrative management. That is given by the Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol is known to be a father of administrative management or just management. Let's start with the bureaucratic management, Max Weber's contribution. This itself is a part of classical theory only. Let's start with the bureaucratic. It is given by Max Weber. Bureaucratic management is given by whom? By Max Weber. It emphasis on structure. That means he believed that there should be a rigid rules and regulation, there should be a proper line of command in the organization or chain of command in the organization, line of authority in the organization, so that there would not be any kind of space for emotions. So he emphasizes on the structured, formal structure. Third one is prescriptive about what is good for the firm. He focuses on the, he merely focuses on the organizational profit rather than personal goals of the employees. Next one is positions in the firm should be held based on the performance, not on social contacts. Yes, he had also believed that yes, that means the performance, or we can say the position we are who is going to allot to the people, that also should be on the basis of their performance, not on the basis of their of any social contacts or any personal relationships. Next one is position duties are clearly identified. That means whatever duties the employees is supposed to perform, that should be clearly identified by the employees. At the same time, people should know what is expected of them. That means there should be a clarity of information, there should be a clear communication with the employees, so that they should be well cleared about their responsibility, about their duties, so that they can perform it in an efficient way. And the last one is line of authority should be clearly identified. Workers know who reports to who. That means which person needs to report to which person, that should be also clear in the organization. So bureaucratic management is based on these certain principles. There are certain principles, that means certain principles which is involved in bureaucratic management, right? Number one is division of work. That means there should be a division of work. There should be, that means division of work means that means whole task should be divided into the small parts, in small part, so that they can allot according to the employees eligibility and employees specialization. So for that, division of work is very important. Then only work can be done in a better way, in an efficient way, and organization will get the profit in a high amount. Next is hierarchy of position. That means there should be a clear hierarchy, there should be a formal structure in the organization. That means who will be the supervisor, who will be the subordinate, that should be clearly identified by the each and every person which exists in the organization. Third one is rules and regulation. That means according to the Max Weber, he said that organizations should always run on the basis of rules and regulation. That should be rigid in nature. That means there should not be any kind of compromise with the rules and regulation in the organization. Then only organization can run in a better way and get a result, get a positive result. So he also talks about rigid rules and regulation. Next one is impersonal conduct. That means there should not be any kind of personal relationship among people, so that any kind of unbiasedness or any kind of emotional activities will not conducted in the organization. So that's why they have said that there should be an impersonal relationship rather than personal. Next one is technical competence. That means they have focused on the technical competence. That means the person who is going to do some particular work, he should be well aware, he should be well skilled, so that he can perform it in a better way, because their main motive is to get the work done in a better way, so that in order to increase the efficiency and effectiveness. And the last one is official records. That means all the records which is going to be maintained in the organization, that should be in a written way. That means that should be recorded officially in a written way, so that in the future, whenever we require any kind of document, we can get it easily, we can approach it easily. So that's why he also said that should be official records. That means the records which is going to be maintained, that should be in a written form. Next next participation is of F.W. Taylor, that is scientific management. He is known to be a father of scientific management. Frederick Winslow Taylor is considered to be the father of scientific management. He exerted a great influence on the development of management thought through his experiments and writings. That means scientific management, Max Weber talked about the rigid rules and regulation. There should be an impersonal relationship among his people. There should be a highly focus on the efficiency of the efficiency of the employees. So that means main focus is on the productivity, is main focus on the impersonal relationship, is main focus upon the rigid rules and regulations, right? And when we talk about scientific management, F.W. Taylor said, if you really want to grow your organization, all the things needs to be related to the cause and effect relationship. That means everything should be experimented, everything, all the principles which you are going to apply in the organization, that should be experimented, well observed, then only organization can grow. So he strongly believed on the science or scientific things. On the basis of that, he has also given certain principles, which is, he said that these principles need to be followed in the organization, then only organization will grow. Next is, Taylor believed that by analyzing work in a scientific manner, it was possible to find the one best way to perform a task. He said that whenever you are going to apply any kind of rule or any kind of principle in the organization or on employees in order to increase the productivity, there should be a scientific relation. That means you must have experimented in an earlier basis, then only you can you will be sure to apply that particular principle. So he basically focused upon the scientific relation, and at the same time experimentation and observation. According to him, rewarding employees with the additional remuneration was employees' only motivation. Scientific management, this F.W. Taylor has also discussed about the motivation. He said that there would be the only motivation, and that is the monetary motivation. If you want to increase the productivity, just use the monetary motivation. There is no space of emotional motivation or non-monetary motivation. So he also focused upon the motivation in a form of money. He has also given certain principles. These are the principles. Number one is scientific task setting through time and motion study. That means whatever task you are going to set in the organization, that should be scientifically calculated through time and motion study. That means if employee how much work employee is supposed to do, each employee has to do in the organization in each day, that also should be set on the basis of time and motion study. That means time and motion study means this particular task needs how much time, and which method is more which method is better, so that they can perform it, so that employees can perform it in an efficient way. So he said that whenever you are going to fix the task in the organization, you have to set on the basis of time and motion study. That means that everything should be recorded, everything should be recorded in what? Everything should be studied and observed in a earlier basis. Second is differential payment. He talks about the differential payments. What kind of differential payments? That means incentive system needs to be there on the according to the F.W. Taylor. F.W. Taylor said that means the workers who are performing well and who are performing better in the organization, who will get he should get better, or we can say that higher the remuneration. So that means there should be a differential payment. That means the payment should be done on the basis of piece rate system. Reorganization of supervision. Scientific management said this F.W. Taylor is also given this principle, reorganization of supervision, in which he said there are two tasks in the organization. Number one is planning and the one is implementation. So whoever is doing planning, the worker who are doing planning, who shouldn't do the implementation work, and whoever is doing implementation work shouldn't do the planning. So that means there should be a reorganization of work, so that there should not be any kind of confusion, and they can do their work in a better way. So there should be, that means whoever is doing planning shouldn't do the doing work or in the implementation work. Next one is scientific recruitment training. He also said that whenever you are going to hire the employees in the organization, that should be scientifically recruited and scientifically trained. That means whatever requirement you need, that means whatever skills you need, that should be clearly analyzed by the recruiter, so that he can recruit it in a proper way, the organization will get right person at the right job. Recruitment training needs to be done on the basis of skills, technical skills. Last one is intimate friendly cooperation between the management and workers through mental revolution. He also said that there should be a cordial relationship between management and workers, so that they try to understand each other, and they will come up with the new ideas. So obviously there should be a good relationship, cordial relationship between management and workers is important. Then only they can come up with the new ideas, creativity, and in order to increase the organizational achievements. Next is administrative management, Henry Fayol's contribution. Next participation is Henry Fayol's participation. He is known to be a father of administrative management. Administrative management focuses on the managers and the use of principles and functions for improving organizational functioning. Max Weber talked about rigid rules and regulation. He talked about well-structured, formal structured organization. Scientific management talked about the science in the organization. That means whenever you are going to apply anything on people, or any kind of practices or rules on people, there should be a cause and effect relationship. Everything should be experimented earlier or observed earlier, then you can implement things. And the last one is manager, and administrative management. So Henry Fayol talked merely focused on the manager. That means what manager needs to implement. That means what manager needs to adopt the things. So he basically defined 14 principles. On the basis of that, he said that if organization apply these 14 principles in the organization, then only organization can grow. That means with his principles, you can manage your organization, you can manage your task in an efficient and effective way. So he concluded his work or his participation by giving these 14 principles. Number 1 is division of work. Number 2 is authority and responsibility. Number 3 is discipline. Number 4 is unity of command. Number 5 is unity of direction. Let's start with the one by one. Let's start one by one. Number 1 is division of work. Division of work means all the work needs to be divided properly, so that they can allot the work to the employees according to their specialization, according to their interest. So for that, division of work is very important in the organization. Second is authority and responsibility. That means if manager is going to delegate the authority to the employees, that should be suitable according to the responsibility which you are going to give to that person. So that means authority and responsibility should go hand in hand. Next one is discipline. Obviously discipline is very important in the organization. If we compromise our rules and regulations in each day, so obviously organization cannot run in a proper way. So obviously discipline is also important to manage the things, to systematize the things. So discipline is also given by Henry Fayol. Next principle is unity of command. That means there should be a one boss, one head in the organization, one man superior. That means there should be a one boss in the organization. If there are multiple bosses in the organization, so confusion will get created. So for that, Henry Fayol said that in the organization or in the department, there should be a one command. Unity of direction. Unity of direction means obviously one boss would be there, so one direction would be there. So again, there would not be any kind of confusion among the people. Next one is subordination of individual interest to general interest. He also talked about the general interest. That means general interest and individual interest. He said that you can't just focus upon the organizational interest, organizational profit or organizational productivity. You also have to consider individual interest. Individual interest means what employees want. That means what employees want, what employees what employees want, and what is their choices, what is their interest, that is also important to be considered. So he said there's this individual interest and general interest needs to go hand in hand. That is also very important to get the work done, or to manage the organization, or to for the sake of survival of the organization. Next one is remuneration. That means whatever remuneration, whatever salary you are going to pay to your employees, that should be fair, that should be bias free. Next one is centralization and decentralization. Both the thing is required. That means it depends on the organizational size. If organization size is bigger in nature, so obviously we need both the things. That means centralization at certain point and decentralization again for other activities. So centralization and decentralization both is important in the organization. Next one is scalar chain. Scalar chain basically tells you about the line of authority. That means there should be a proper communication channel in the organization. So for that, scalar chain is important. That means you, if lower person or subordinate needs to talk to the to one higher level person, so he has to go with the line of communication, he has to go to the with the line of authority. He can't go directly to that person, or he has to follow some certain hierarchy. He can't go like without proper channel. He has to go with the proper channel. So scalar chain talks about the line of authority or the line of communication, which is also important for the clear communication with the clear communication in the organization, so that the person can communicate the things in a proper way. Next one is order. Order talks about that whenever which resources we required in the organization, that should be ready at the right time at the right place. So order is what? That means in order, this order is divided in, it involves two kind of order. One is material order and another one is human order. That means whenever we need any kind of raw material at certain point of time, we must have with that order. That means everything should be ready in the organization, can be in a form of this material order, or can be in the form of human. Whenever we need any kind of person or any kind of employee to do a particular task, the person needs to be there. So what is that? That means the order of these resources should be in a proper manner, or should be in an appropriate manner, so that any kind of work or any kind of activity will not get hampered. Next one is equity. That means equality. There should be a equality in the organization. No biasness is required in the organization. Next one is stability of tenure of personnel. That means there should be, that means stability of tenure of personnel means that employees tenure needs to be stable. That means labor turnover needs to be maintained in the organization. If employees are leaving their organization in a frequent manner, so obviously that organization will not sustain for a longer period. So obviously stability is very important to sustain the organization or for the sake of organizational survival. Next one is initiative. Obviously initiative is again very important in the organization. If each and every employees will take the initiative in the organization and come up with the new ideas and creativity, so obviously organization will grow in a better way. Next one is Esprit de Corps. Esprit de Corps talks about the teamwork. That means there should be a teamwork in the organization. There should be a teamwork spirit within the people, so that they can work in a team, in a group, or in a teamwork. Next theory is neoclassical. Neoclassical theory is divided, it is basically given by the Elton Mayo, right? So, and this neoclassical theory is based on the Hawthorne experiment, which is being conducted in Western Electric Company between the 1924 to 1932 at Chicago with 30,000 workers. So, this Hawthorne experiment is divided into the 4 phases. Number 1 is illumination experiment, second is relay assembly room experiment, third one is mass interviewing program, and the fourth one is bank wiring room study. These are the 4 phases of Hawthorne experiment. Start with the illumination experiment. Illumination experiment is basically conducted on different workers where they divided 2 groups, where they made 2 groups. One is experimental group and another one is non-experimental group. On the experimental group, they basically see the effect, they tried to see the effect of illumination on their productivity. That means if we increase the amount of illumination, is their productivity getting increased? So obviously they see the impact of illumination or the light on employees' productivity, and finally they found it that there is no effect, there has no effect on output. That means illumination, that means amount of light will not increase the productivity of the workers. So after illumination experiment, they come up, they conducted this relay assembly room experiment. In this experiment, this experiment is done on the basis of on 4 women. 4 women were experiment there. So in this, what happened? They have given different meals to the women. Basically, 4 women were there, and they have given them different 4 meals. Meals to the woman. They have given extra rest to the women. So in this way, they have observed that women were very happy and their productivity was getting increased. So what is that? They also concluded that workers are influenced by the security and sense of belongingness. That means if organization thinks about their employees, so obviously they feel the security, they feel sense of belongingness, and then automatically increase their productivity. Next one is mass interviewing program, in which they conducted interview of 20,000 workers, in which they have asked that what do you think, that which thing motivates you more. So in which they replied that opportunity to talk and express grievance increase the morale. That means they have also shown that monetary is not the way, or it's not the only thing which motivates us. If you want us to increase our motivation, you have to give us a space or opportunity to talk with the supervisor or express their feelings. Then only their morale will be increased for the longer period. And the last one is bank wiring room study concluded social groups created big impacts on workers. This experiment also concluded that if you that means supervisor effect is lesser than the peer group effect. That means if peer group is going to give pressure on people, on inefficient people, they will also start working on the basis with the help of peer group pressure. That means their influence is much bigger than the influence of peer supervisor. So this is the phase of Hawthorne experiment. Next one is result of Hawthorne experiment. So they basically concluded that motivation is very important, clear communication is very important, social factor is very important to increase the morale of the organization or morale of the employees. Behavior of workers is also need to be observed properly, their attitude needs to be understood properly. Relationship among the people is also very important. The last one is production level, that if you want to increase their production level, you have to work on their human factor. Instead of just considering the monetary factor, you have to consider their modern factor, their behavior, their non-monetary factor, that is the sense of belongingness, that is the security, that's the understanding or space of giving the opportunity to talk with the supervisor clearly. That is very important. So Hawthorne experiment concluded that human factor plays a major role to motivate the people. Last one is modern theory. Modern theory is coming after the neoclassic this theory came after the Hawthorne experiment or neoclassical theory, in which they emphasize on the systematic mathematical technique technique in the system with analyzing and understanding the interrelationship of management and workers in all aspects. This theory basically talked about the mathematical technique needs to be implemented in the organization to get the work done or to manage the things efficiently and effectively. These three approaches were discussed in modern theory. One is quantitative approach, second is system approach, and contingency approach. Quantitative approach talks about there should be a mathematical technique needs to be implemented in the organization, in the operation, then only things will be accurate. Second is system approach, that means everything should be interdependent on each other, then only work will get done in a proper way. And contingency approach, that means we have to work according to the situation. That means there should not be any kind of fixed rules and regulation, everything depends on the situation. Thank you.